Imagine a world completely encased in ice, a solid white marble hurtling through space. For an astonishing 60 million years, Earth was exactly that, a global snowball, frozen from pole to pole, even at the equator. This wasn't just a harsh winter, it was an apocalyptic deep freeze that should have annihilated all life. Yet, life found a way. How did anything survive this colossal, seemingly inescapable icy prison? Okay, let's set the scene. We're talking about an event so profound, so utterly mind-bending, that it makes our current climate debates look like a minor skirmish in a kiddie pool. We're diving into the Cryogenian period, specifically the Sturton and Marinoan glaciations, roughly 717 to 635 million years ago. Picture this, our planet, not just a little chilly, not just a bit frosty, but entirely, unequivocally, absolutely frozen. Think a mile-thick sheet of ice covering everything, even the oceans, all the way down to the equator. Seriously, the Earth was essentially a giant iridescent ice cube. So how did we get here? This wasn't just a cosmic accident. It was a perfect, terrible storm of geological, atmospheric, and astronomical factors. First up, astronomy plays a subtle role. The sun was about 6% dimmer back then. Not a deal-breaker on its own, but it was a contributing factor. Next, geology and physics team up for the main event. Around 750 million years ago, a supercontinent called Rodinia was breaking apart. As continents rifted, they exposed vast amounts of fresh rock. This, ironically, sucked carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. See, newly exposed silicate rocks react with CO2 and water, forming carbonates. This process, called silicate weathering, is Earth's natural thermostat, usually keeping CO2 levels balanced. But when there's a lot of new rock exposed, it acts like a giant atmospheric vacuum cleaner, pulling CO2 out faster than volcanoes can put it back in. Now, CO2 is a greenhouse gas. It traps heat. Less CO2 means less trapped heat. Temperatures dropped. Ice started forming, mostly at the poles first. And here's where the physics gets truly brutal. The albedo effect. Ice is reflective, right? It's white. When sunlight hits ice, most of it bounces straight back into space. Darker surfaces, like open ocean or land, absorb sunlight and get warmer. So, as more ice formed, more sunlight was reflected, which made the planet even colder, which made more ice form, which reflected more sunlight. You get the picture. It was a runaway feedback loop, a death spiral into glaciation. Once the ice reached about 30 degrees latitude, think modern-day Florida or Egypt, it was game over. The planet plunged into total freeze-out, a global refrigerator set to maximum chill for an unfathomable 60 million years. Now for the big question. How did life, fragile as it seems, possibly survive this literal deep freeze? This is where the story gets really juicy and shows the incredible resilience of biology. Because, spoiler alert, life didn't just survive, it arguably thrived because this event. Our initial thought might be, nothing survived, duh, but that's thinking too small. The key isn't that the entire planet was one solid, sterile block of ice. There were refugia, pockets of possibility, tiny oases in an otherwise frozen wasteland. First, let's talk about hydrothermal vents. Deep beneath the crushing weight of a mile of ice at the bottom of the unfrozen parts of the ocean, because remember that ice was floating on water, you'd find these incredible geological features. These are cracks in the Earth's crust where superheated, mineral-rich water spews out, fueled by magma chambers below. They create ecosystems entirely independent of sunlight, powered by chemosynthesis rather than photosynthesis. Instead of using light, bacteria and archaea at these vents use chemical reactions like oxidizing hydrogen sulfide to produce energy. These were perfect, insulated sanctuaries for life, hot, mineral-rich, and utterly oblivious to the icy apocalypse raging above. Think of them as the ultimate pre-built underground bunkers for extremophile microbes. Second, consider areas of tectonic activity. Even with a global ice sheet, the Earth's crust is still moving, still grumbling, still generating heat. Volcanic activity, even if largely suppressed by the ice, could have created localized meltwater pools or areas of thinner ice. Imagine a volcano erupting under the ice.
It wouldn't just melt a tiny hole, it would create a massive bubbling cauldron of relatively warm liquid water, complete with nutrient cycling from the volcanic ash. These could have been temporary dynamic havens. Third, the ice wasn't necessarily completely impenetrable everywhere. While mile-thick ice covered much of the ocean, some scientists propose that near the equator, where solar radiation was still strongest, the ice might have been thinner, perhaps even allowing for patchy areas of open water during brief periods or in specific conditions. Imagine a thin, almost transparent ice layer that allowed a fraction of sunlight to penetrate, enabling photosynthetic algae to survive under the ice. This isn't just speculation, it's observed in modern-day Antarctic ice sheets, where microbial communities thrive within and beneath sea ice. These internal ice habitats, known as cryoconite holes or brine channels, create tiny liquid microenvironments even within solid ice, providing a place for single-celled organisms to persist. They're like miniature self-contained biospheres. Fourth, let's not forget nunataks. These are mountain peaks that poke through ice sheets. If the ice was truly global and thick, there might have been very few, if any, exposed. But if the ice was slightly thinner in some continental regions or on particularly tall mountain ranges, these exposed rock surfaces could have been sites for temporary meltwater pools during periods of slightly warmer conditions, potentially providing terrestrial refugia for hardy microorganisms. Though honestly, this is probably less significant than the deep-sea events. So, who were these champions of survival? Mostly single-celled organisms, bacteria, archaea, and early eukaryotes. These were the ultimate extremophiles. Psychophiles, cold lovers. These microbes don't just tolerate cold, they thrive in it. Their enzymes are adapted to function optimally
At near freezing temperatures. Imagine having a metabolism that works best when you're practically a popsicle. Thermophiles, heat lovers. These guys were lounging by the hydrothermal vents thinking, what cold? They adapted to extreme heat and chemical environments, basically living in conditions that would instantly sterilize everything else. Chemotrophs, life powered by chemical reactions, as mentioned with the vents. These organisms developed sophisticated metabolisms to extract energy from inorganic compounds like hydrogen, sulfur, iron, or ammonia, completely bypassing the need for sunlight. Anaerobes. Many of these organisms didn't need oxygen. In isolated pockets under miles of ice, oxygen would have been scarce, so these anaerobic metabolisms were crucial for survival. But beyond just tolerating extremes, these organisms developed some serious genetic and biological adaptations. Metabolic slowdown or dormancy. Many microbes can essentially hit the pause button on life. They form spores or cysts, durable, inactive forms that can withstand incredible environmental stress, including extreme cold and lack of nutrients, for millions of years. Think of it like a biological hibernation, but way, way more intense. Their genetics allow them to activate and deactivate genes responsible for these survival states. Antifreeze proteins. Yes, even single-celled organisms have versions of these. These special proteins bind to ice crystals, preventing them from growing larger and damaging cell structures. It's like having microscopic de-icers working inside your cells. This is a brilliant biological solution to a physical problem. DNA repair mechanisms. Life under thin ice or near the surface might have been exposed to higher levels of UV radiation if the atmosphere was thin or lacked an ozone layer. Organisms evolved robust genetic repair systems to fix damaged DNA, preventing mutations that would be lethal in such harsh conditions. This prolonged period of extreme stress acted as an incredible evolutionary pressure cooker. Only the toughest, most adaptable organisms made it through. It was a bottleneck event, weeding out the weak and leaving behind a lineage of super survivors. And this leads us to the grand finale of this Ice Age epic, the thaw. After 60 million years of being the ultimate deep freeze experiment, how did Earth finally defrost? Well, the very mechanism that plunged it into an ice age eventually saved it: volcanoes. While rock weathering was busy sucking CO2 out of the atmosphere, volcanic activity didn't stop.
Earth's internal engine kept chugging along, spewing out CO2, H2O, and other gases. But with no exposed land to weather and absorb that CO2, it just kept accumulating in the atmosphere. Slowly, inexorably, CO2 levels climbed to astronomically high concentrations. Estimates range from 100 to 1,000 times modern levels. This created a super greenhouse effect. Imagine sealing yourself in a car on a sunny day. That's a mild version. This was a supercharged, planet-wide sauna. The physics of heat trapping worked its magic. Slowly, ever so slowly, the ice started to melt. And guess what? Another feedback loop, but this time a positive one for warming. As ice melted, darker ocean,
Land surfaces were exposed. These dark surfaces absorbed more sunlight, warming the planet further, melting more ice, exposing more dark surfaces. You get the idea. It was like Earth finally hit the defrost button, but it was a very, very slow button press. The melt was catastrophic in its own way. Massive amounts of fresh water, nutrient-rich from millions of years of glacial grinding and accumulated volcanic dust, poured into the oceans. The melting also released all the accumulated oxygen that had been trapped under the ice, or more accurately, created the conditions for a massive release of oxygen by newly thriving photosynthesizers. And this brings us to the aftermath, which is perhaps the most exciting part for biology and genetics. The cryogenian melt was like hitting the reset button on life. The oceans were suddenly flush with nutrients, phosphates, nitrates, iron, everything an organism could dream of. And critically, there was a massive increase in atmospheric and oceanic oxygen. Many scientists believe that the snowball Earth events were directly followed by, and possibly triggered, the Cambrian explosion. What's the Cambrian explosion? It's when, geologically speaking, complex multicellular life burst onto the scene in an unprecedented frenzy of diversification. Before Snowball Earth, life was primarily single-celled, relatively simple. After, boom, we see the rapid appearance of almost all major animal phyla, creatures with shells, skeletons, complex body plans, specialized organs, and predatory behaviors. It's like life finally stretched, yawned, and then decided to go absolutely wild, trying out every evolutionary idea it could conceive. Why the connection? The immense stress of Snowball Earth, followed by the nutrient and oxygen-rich super greenhouse recovery, acted as a powerful evolutionary accelerator. Genetic bottleneck and innovation. The survivors were genetically robust and adaptable. The extreme selection pressure might have favored organisms with more flexible genomes, or those prone to genetic innovation. Oxygenation. Higher oxygen levels enabled the evolution of larger, more energy-intensive life forms. Complex multicellularity requires a lot of energy, and oxygen-based respiration is incredibly efficient. Nutrient availability. The flood of nutrients provided the raw materials for rapid growth and diversification. Predator-prey arms race. Once some complex forms emerged, they started eating each other, driving an escalating arms race that fueled further diversification. If you're a tasty, slow blob, you better evolve some armor or learn to swim fast, or you're toast. So, the very events that nearly extinguished life ultimately paved the way for its most spectacular flourishing. It's a profound testament to life's tenacity. Now, let's bring it back to psychology, not of ancient microbes, but of us, thinking about this. What does the Snowball Earth teach us? 1. The resilience of life. It instills a deep sense of awe for how persistent and adaptable life is. We humans often feel so fragile, yet the fundamental drive of life to survive against truly impossible odds is utterly inspiring. It's a reminder that life, in some form, seems to always find a way. This can give us a
sense of optimism about the fundamental robustness of biological systems. Planetary habitability and astrobiology. Studying Snowball Earth helps us understand the boundaries of habitability. If life can survive this on Earth, what does that tell us about the potential for life on other planets that might experience similar extreme climate shifts? It expands our concept of where to look for extraterrestrial life, suggesting that even seemingly dead, frozen worlds might harbor pockets of life beneath the surface. It really makes you wonder about those icy moons in our own solar system, doesn't it? Like Europa or Enceladus with their subsurface oceans. Deep time and scale.
Grasping the concept of 60 million years of global ice is mind-boggling. It forces us to confront the immense scale of geological time and planetary processes, humbling our human-centric view of time and change. It gives us a sense of perspective on our own relatively brief existence and the dynamic, ever-changing nature of our planet. It can evoke a sense of existential wonder and curiosity about the universe's grand narrative. Climate change lessons. While Snowball Earth was driven by natural processes on a geological timescale, it does offer a stark reminder of Earth's climate sensitivity and the power of feedback loops. It shows us how quickly, in geological terms, a planet's climate can tip into an extreme state and the profound consequences that follow. Not to say we're heading for another Snowball Earth. Our planet is far warmer now, and the processes are different, but it's a powerful illustration of planetary climate dynamics. Ultimately, the story of Snowball Earth isn't just a geological curiosity. It's a foundational chapter in the epic saga of life on Earth. It showcases the incredible interplay of physics, biology, genetics, astronomy, and geology to sculpt a planet and its inhabitants. From a frozen marble to a thriving biosphere, Earth's journey through its ice ages is a testament to the fact that even in the most desolate and seemingly hopeless conditions, life persists, adapts, and ultimately finds a way to flourish. It's a story of ultimate survival and a powerful reminder that sometimes the most challenging times can lead to the most incredible transformations. Pretty wild, right?